I love Sporks. Yay! ETHDenver 2023 is coming. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Derek, the community steward, as always, here at ETHDenver, aka Spork DAO, and I'm joined by Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hello. Good morning. It's actually afternoon, but
It's
good
GM
afternoon.
somewhere. Yeah.
GM somewhere.
Hi, Beam Me Up Now. Hi, Andre. Welcome back. And everyone else, feel free to drop a GM. I'm always curious who's joining us today. We have a lot of stuff to cover. We got a few exciting guests, a few exciting announcements because we're that much closer to ETHDenver starting in 2 weeks. So without further ado, here is what we're getting into today. Jason, what are we talking about?
So, well, we're going to obviously start with the countdown. We're getting closer to actually being at ETHDenver. And then from there, we're going to be talking about the impact and public goods track. And then we'll talk with DAOs and communities, talking about what that's going to look like for this year's event. And then got a little bit of some updates around Bufficorn Ventures and that the Buffy tank pitch off that's going on. We're going to talk some things around tickets. I know a lot of people have questions about tickets and some of the things that have been going out this week. If you haven't had if you didn't claim your ticket within that original 14 days, you might have gotten a little message. And then we might have had...
you might have gotten a little message.
You might have gotten a little message about you better claim your tickets. It's been over 14 days. So so we're working. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about what next week looks like, which is really we're really getting down to the bottom of the barrel to actually getting into ETHDenver, actually starting to biddle, having a lot of fun. So, yeah. So I guess if we were to guess.
Yeah, if we were everyone type in the chat, how long do you think it is until ETHDenver starts? Go ahead. You can say it in hours or days or weeks or months, whatever you want to say. You have 10 seconds. How long is it until ETHDenver begins? I'm telling you, it's the funny thing about this number is that it doesn't get bigger. It tends to get smaller. Exarch says 41 parsecs. Aren't parsecs a unit of distance? This is like a light year thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I'm closer than 41 parsecs to Denver, personally.
All right. Well, for those that are wondering, it's
3.26 light years. 14 days, but is it?
But no, it actually isn't 14 days. It's actually a lot better than that. We're 13 days, 20 hour-ish.
Yeah, about 20 hours.
somewhere
less
in
than
there.
14 days in fewer than 14 days.
Yeah, and basically in 14 days, we get to go on the stage and talk about what the Biddle Week will look like, and then really kind of diving into talking with some of the presenting sponsors, track sponsors, actually getting into bounties, talking about some use cases, talking about all sorts of different things, and really kind of you can actually start biddling. So, it's going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's going to be really exciting. But I wanted to just kind of quickly just show some links because I'm already getting hit up and asking about tickets. And I don't want this beginning part to be about tickets, but I do want to be able to answer some ticket questions. So take a quick look at this screenshot. If you have a ticket issue and you need to get your ticket and you said that you had a wallet, you want to use that URL to claim your ticket. If you don't have a wallet, you want to use the other URL. And if you decided that you didn't want to join the DAO and you instead want to join as a non-member, you want to use that URL. So that will speed up your process of getting your ticket and you'll be good to go. So that's that. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but wanted to have that on the front end. So if people see it, they can go get their ticket and be good to go. Because for some people that have had their tickets for quite some time, the cutoff is tonight at 11:59 p.m. So but we'll talk about that later. Right now, let's get into the juice.
The juice.
The juice.
Yeah.
So
Y'all might remember. Oh, so can I take this one?
yeah, go for it.
Y'all might remember that ETH Denver, we brought it down from last year's 9 tracks, overwhelming, confusing, complicated, to 5 tracks. And over this Raise Your Spork series, we have been digging into them one at a time. A moment ago, we said we were going to dig into 2 tracks today. Those are, I don't want to be wrong, infrastructure and scalability. No, okay, I messed up.
Impact and public goods.
Dang it, they both start with
an I.
Can we have 3 tracks next year?
Number three, impact and public goods. It's okay, Derek.
Devin.
It's a long day. I got it. I got you.
You got it. Take it.
Impact and public goods, and then DAOs and communities.
Of course, we all knew that. That's what I said. Impact and public goods and DAOs and community. There's no record. You can't go back and prove that I'm wrong.
No.
So without further ado, let's get into the impact and public goods track. We're going to talk, what does that even mean? And we're joined by a special guest, Devin Saxon from Swirlds Labs. Hi, Devin.
Hey, how's it going, y'all?
Good.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's exciting. I think we've been going through all these different tracks with the different sponsors. And so for me, and I know even for Derek, it's fun to kind of understand, what does the space look like? So, we're 13 days and 20 hour-ish away from actually the start of biddling. Biddlers that are interested in biddling, they're going to pick one of the 5 tracks. And so we're hoping that you guys can kind of dive in and kind of tell us a little bit about, talk about Swirlds Labs, talk about why you guys are sponsoring the track, and then what are some things that you guys are doing to support the initiatives within the impact and public goods.
I have all of that information for you, Jason, right here in this deck that I can jump into. So let's go ahead and get
for it. Yeah.
Hopefully I don't freeze.
There we go.
Bada Can y'all see it?
Bada bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So hello, everybody. My name is Devin Saxon Labs, but we are a company that is paired with Hedera, so we do all the marketing. That is our main focus. Why we are part of the impact and public good track. I think that one of the big focuses of Hedera as of recent has been the sustainability and ESG efforts. Most specifically, if I go to the next slide, how we are bringing accountability and maturity to ESG models with distributed trust. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about what ESG is, and kind of the sustainability space. What are the main problems there? What are the main solutions there for those problems, and how Hedera fits in that picture, and kind of the use cases that we're working on today around that. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I think the first things first is like, what is ESG? Pretty common acronym, but it focuses on environment, social, and governance. So when you think about environment, you think about climate change, you think about energy efficiency, trying to really dictate how we use our natural resources. We have that social piece, just kind of the common good of making sure everybody's accounted for, human rights and labor, equality, gender and diversity. And then finally, you have governance, which is really tracking corporate behavior, just understanding that their operations are transparent and they are doing kind of what's the best practices, holding themselves accountable along with their board. And I mention all of these things because kind of today, like, we see investors, institutions, governments, and organizations really are applying these non-financial factors as a part of their analysis process when it comes to mitigating risk and understanding their growth opportunities. And you can kind of see that as a proof in the pudding, because more than 3,000 investors in 2021, which is like $121 trillion of assets, started to integrate ESG when it came to their investment decisions. And we're going to see that sort of number continue to grow. I think one of the more common pieces of ESG that you see today are many of around the sustainability efforts. How are we leveraging carbon offsets and carbon credits and really fighting that carbon footprint to go against climate change? So I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump into the current challenges that we see within this space as everybody starts to invest in it in a little more. These are the kind of the 3 big pillars that I'd say that there are. The lack of shared methodologies. So when you talk about institutions now wanting to be more involved in ESG, they usually go to agencies to see how they fall under that sort of regulation. But as you can imagine, since there's not really a universal transparent agency across globally, there when corporations are going through these practices, there's a lot of discrepancies between these corporations. So if one business saying that they qualify for all of their emissions, like they're okayed by all their emissions from one agency, but another agency is saying that they're in the red with them, it really is not helping fight that global climate change. So how do we really alleviate that and get everybody on the same page? Next is greenwashing, which I'd probably say is the more popular one, where you have big businesses talking about, oh, we decrease our carbon footprint by this percentage, or increasing the fight against climate change by this percentage, without there really being any type of tie between to what they're saying. Just due to that all their information is kind of siloed and not really transparent. And that's been a huge challenge throughout, I guess, the conversation of carbon footprints. And then finally is double counting. When we have these sort of marketplaces that are promoting these carbon assets that you can buy to help offset whatever your business is emitting, sometimes they're not really good at tracking who they're selling those carbon credits to. So you can run into situations where a business or two businesses or three businesses are buying that same offset, which at the end of the day kind of counts as greenwashing, because that's not really counting towards all three of them. It should just be counting towards one of them. So how do we improve sort of these challenges and really fix the ESG space? I think it comes to these 5 sort of things that really need to be accounted for by some distributed ledger technology, Hedera. But I'd say that these focuses are this. One, we need to make climate finance completely auditable. So all the attributes and assets that are linked to specific, like carbon assets, need to be transparent and easily discoverable. We need the data to be quantifiable, aggregated, and rated with full trust. And from that, you're able to create and digitize these open source methodologies. So when I was talking about those ESG agencies really causing a discrepancy between institutions because their like trust models aren't aligned, making everything open source mitigates that. We have a consistent footing. We limit those chances of discrepancy because everybody's sort of working from that same sort of tool set. And from that, you can really scale, validate, and verify as this space really needs. The trust is kind of the biggest theme that you can see when it comes to a lot of the issues. So by having all this be open source and you use a DLT like Hedera, even the next step of tokenizing these assets for a carbon market becomes so much easier because
Sorry, what's a DLT?
Distributed ledger technology.
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, feel free to interrupt me and ask questions.
Our community skews, like we have a lot of people from all kinds of backgrounds, but when it comes to like terminology and stuff, I just don't want to assume that people, but you said distributed ledger technology a moment ago. I should have picked up on that.
No, I appreciate it. I'm trying to get better at that. This is a space full of acronyms and words that aren't really words. So
yeah, I know. We're going to biddle with our Sporks at eDenver. It's great. Here it's worked out.
Exactly. But after you're able to scale, validate, and verify and start to tokenize these assets, now you're able to create like a global carbon price. And this makes everything, again, more auditable, makes the markets more trustworthy. It pushes things forward. And really, by having these markets be more trustworthy, you're able to fund projects that are actually having an impact against climate change. And that's where that financing comes, and sort of this big cycle of sustainability is in place. And with all those pieces together, we're really just making ESG reporting a lot more credible at the end of the day. So what kind of like distributed ledger do we need in order for this to meet all of these requirements? And this is kind of just highlighting the points that we like to talk about at Hedera. So you need something that's highly performant, that has the finality in seconds and high throughput, strong security with our proof of stake system, stability by not having any forking, the governance, we have treasury management, a strong roadmap. And then finally, the sustainability piece, I think, is pairs up with all the messaging that we want to align with. We're like a carbon negative infrastructure, and we like to claim that we have the lowest carbon footprint per transaction of any sort of public network. And to kind of like show that through a UCL research report that was dropped last year in Q3, we're the little green bar at the top, and I'm kind of pretty proud of that. But I mean, just for a comparison, you'd have to conduct more than like 1,000 transactions on the Hedera network to use the same amount of energy for one swipe for a Visa card, which I think is pretty telling. Because I mean, if you have a ledger that burns a lot of electricity, I mean, it's good if they're buying the carbon offsets, but we really want to take it a step further by not burning as much electricity in the first place. And our founder really likes talking about, or one of our founders really likes talking about, the greenest form of energy is the energy you don't use, and he termed like
For
megawatt.
sure.
I mean, I could totally go with the 0.000003 for my car. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Way better than 11 cents.
Yeah, I agree. It's not bad. It's not bad. And just to like show what our infrastructure is, I mean, we really are able to power everything in these use cases, which I'm going to get to in a second. We have our consensus service, we have the token service, and the smart contract service that is all on top of the Hashgraph consensus. But the applications that we support, here are a few that are pointed to a different end users. This is just the nucleus of what makes everything sort of go. And going into our, like, one of our more popular use cases is the Guardian. This is our sort of open source modular solution that is a digital measurement, reporting, and verification tool that's really enabling all of that, like the data and assets to be discoverable that I was talking about in the beginning of the conversation. And that also enables like tokenization of sustainability assets, which is really big. But this is just giving DLT libraries and identity management for developers to really get started when it comes to creating all these sustainable, or ESG assets, I should say.
Do you have like so from Guardians as the tool, do you have examples of any like projects that are actually utilizing it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll get into that after. I have 2 projects after that I'm gonna highlight.
Okay, cool.
I think just to give a little bit more of a foundation around the Guardian, there's like 3 things that you should really know. One is a policy workflow engine. So when we're talking about like open source and digitizing those methodologies, the policy workflow engine is really the heart that's able to do that. This is helping manage and monitor the state of the required policy actions to create those trust models for people to understand if they're under regulation or not. So they can put their data into the tool. And since it's open source and people have already created these methodologies, they can kind of grab reference points to see what best fits their use case, which is just really, really cool. Because from that, now you're able to start creating ESG assets, which such as like carbon credits and offsets, and you're creating these markets that are able to fund these projects, like I mentioned before, and really eliminate the concern of greenwashing or double counting or things like that, since this is all on the distributed ledger. And finally, I can't hammer home the point enough of it being open source, because as we know, within like the Web3 world, the communities are really what powers kind of the success of different solutions. So by being able to have an open source solution like this that is built from the community and not just like siloed from our side, this helps it bring credibility and sort of eliminate any type of discrepancies at hand. One use case that we see is through Avery Dennison. They're this huge manufacturing company, and they're like really trying to understand their impact when it comes to emissions and how they can like have a better baseline to understand of how they want to like purchase offsets in order to negate their emissions. So they use our software to be able to create these unique digital IDs that they can now track and really like track where they are sort of in the world, which again helps them give a stronger baseline and eliminate the chances of greenwashing.
I have 100% seen this exact idea at a Bidilathon, where people were like, if only we could do these like unique identifiers on products as they move through the supply chain. Yeah. And so to see it here is just
it's a very cool use case. And I hope this practice is something that's, gets picked up by more institutions, honestly, because the accountability piece, that's like all the people really want, is to see that you're actually doing what you're saying that you're doing. And this is a piece of that kind of puzzle,
So Avery, they're the same company that also does all the labels.
Yeah.
So Are there like chain stores where you can actually see this already like in person? So if I go to like Albertsons or Jewel Osco, is it like you can scan it and it shows up, or is this more so concept right now?
I think it's more internal right now. I don't know if it's, well, I don't know how far. I know there was talks about the stitching of like QR codes on the back of tags and having that be like a way that people could look it up. But I don't know how far along in the process they are with that. But this is something that's definitely implemented on their side.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see where it is live store wise. I don't have that off the top of my head right now.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Another piece is Timeless. So they're more of like a solutions agency, but I think one of the big things about kind of creating these ESG initiatives within organizations is that sometimes the project lead will have an idea of what exactly that they need to do, but sometimes they don't have the investment or time to be able to build out the entire infrastructure of it. So Timeless is a solution company that helps pair leveraging Hedera with whatever solutions that they're trying to provide, and they use our infrastructure to do things like verify carbon offsets or the output in real time, like the Timeless use case, and create like monetizable certificates to show that they're offsetting. And we have like carbon markets that are using our Guardian solution in order to create their carbon credits today. If you go to hedera.com/ I think sustainability, you'll see like all of our use cases up there too. So what does this sort of like look like within the future? I think these are our pillars that we're focused on. We want to continue to grow the community, as I mentioned before. That's just the biggest catalyst in order to reach the goals that you're trying to reach. We're going to continue adding Guardian features. We want to have like policy developers to grow that open source methodology. We want to create these like ARM repositories, which helps with the pricing of these carbon offsets when it enters to the markets. And then finally, we want to introduce Guardian as a service. I know I had mentioned that Timeless is a solutions company that will help institutions sort of get off the ground when it comes to building that infrastructure around their ESG sort of use case. But we also are working with Envision Blockchain, which they actually just launched this service, I think this week or last week. But kind of like a SaaS solution of the Guardian that's sort of plug-in ready to go. And you just kind of plug in your assets and it does a lot for you based off of all that open source information.
Huge.
Yeah. And yeah, that's like the whole presentation. So thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Just on that last point you made, it's like SDKs make the world go round, right? We're all busy people. We're all trying our best to accomplish a lot of things. And so the more y'all can do to create, like through the Guardian system, for example, a more plug and play solution, then it makes it that much easier for other organizations that are aligned at a values level, but might not have the money or the otherwise like talent needed to build out some of this infrastructure from scratch. That's the part that I wanted to just appreciate, because, if like there's this saying that folks may or may not be familiar with in software engineering, which is don't repeat yourself, DRY. You want to have dry code where you don't say the same thing in 5 places. You say it in one place but that also applies at a higher level where you don't need projects to repeat themselves. If a bunch of projects are going to be creating a very similar kind of infrastructure, if only somebody like Swirls Labs could come up with some kind of SDK where they can all use it. So it's nice to see this sort of like fractal nature of what we do. We want the open source to be at the top level so that everyone can just come in and contribute or use it and share knowledge around it. That's what gets me pretty excited.
Yeah, I completely agree. You hit all the points.
So is there like a difference, or can we talk about what the difference is? Oh, I was just going to ask what the difference was between Hedera and Swirl Labs, so people have a full understanding of anyone that's kind of jumped in.
Sure.
Yeah.
How about we go to Jason's question? I won't forget about this one. Don't worry. I'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, we're just separate entities. I think the best way of thinking of Swirls Labs is like of a Hedera's marketing company. I think if you think of how Ethereum has done it with Ethereum and Ethereum Foundation, you can look at us as the exact same way. We're 100% focused on Hedera and growing the community and promoting people who are building cool stuff on top of Hedera.
Cool.
Speaking of folks that want to build cool stuff on top of Hedera, Nick
See,
Swear was asking.
I said that. I teed that out. I teed
Yeah,
that out.
yeah, thank you. What's the best way to connect with Hedera? This particular person next where I was saying they've worked in the field of sustainability for 6 years and are looking to make that segue into Web3. Excited about what you're saying, but want to
Nice.
help do it at the Web3 layer. So if someone's going to be at ETH Denver, or even now before ETH Denver, we still got 2 weeks. How would you recommend folks reach out if they're interested in being like a contributor or a team member, something like that?
For sure. I think first thing, join the Discord. Follow Twitter if you're not already there. Come to the Hedera booth because I'll be there at ETH Denver. I think is the second thing. And if you actually have like a project that you're working on, you should go to hbarfoundation.org. You can apply for funding there. And I mean, that's another institution, the HBAR Foundation, that is giving out grants to people who are building on top of Hedera to help obviously get more people on top of our platform. But visit that website as well. I don't know I should drop that link. But
I'll go ahead and put it in chat for folks. You talk about hbarfoundation.org.
Yep, that's it.
Sure thing.
Perfect. Yep.
What's a HBAR?
HBAR is Hedera's currency or a token.
Is it like a reference to some kind of mathematical thing?
Probably. I think it is.
It's just giving me like quantum physics vibes.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, our co-founders are like math geniuses, so there's a little bit of a reference to.
Okay. I love the theme of like branding and like perception, because I don't know. So, it's all about onboarding and education, and sometimes you like what was your title, like senior product marketing engineer? Something like that. Like it's the goal is to communicate an important thing to people so that they understand it. But along the way, you might use like fun branding to get there, because if you only say important things, people are like, "That's boring. I'm gonna go watch TikTok." So there's this like back and forth, where like if you're only technical, people are like, "What's a hash graph? I'm confused."
Mm-hmm.
But if you're only cool, then people are like, "Swirls. What is that?" So there's like a weird go back and forth between like, all right, so we need to like build a decentralized future, and then what does that actually look like? And both are confusing, is what I'm saying. Branding is confusing and technical content is confusing. This is a hard space to navigate. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. We don't make it easy. We don't. I also want to make sure, because I just got a Slack. Thank you, Lena, if you're watching. We are EVM compatible, and we can do a lot of cool things cross-chain. So I'll also make sure that I highlight that.
That actually was something in the back of my head. I was wondering about that. Can we speak just a little bit more about Hedera Hashgraph for folks that are aware of layer ones, but maybe have never heard of Hedera before? It seems quite like some of these claims were really interesting and quite strong around like transaction throughput or low energy use. It feels like there's something fundamentally different about how it processes transactions or its consensus mechanism. So if you could do like an explain like I'm five of like a key difference, if there is one, between how Hedera runs its nodes and its network compared to say ETH mainnet, then maybe we could help folks understand that discrepancy.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit of a too good to be true. Like, are you just like you got like 3 validator nodes in Devin's basement kind of a thing? So I'm just wondering how do we account for this giant, literal many orders of magnitude discrepancy in like energy use, for example?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like you mentioned, it's like the sort of blockchain versus hash graph discussion. We use the term blockchain, but we're a distributed ledger. I mean, we have our hash graph method is like a gossip protocol that has like virtual voting. So that's where we're able to claim that the low energy use, because we're not using any type of proof of work. We're doing a proof of stake. So that in itself doesn't require any like heavy electricity usage. And when around the gossip protocol, to get a little mathy, and it's the asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance is just like the highest level of security for distributed networks. mathematically saying. So that I think that's where we get a lot of those claims really just comes from the heart of that hash graph piece, I'd say.
Okay. What would be maybe the main trade-off or sacrifice in taking a model like that? Or did we just solve the
Yeah,
the
I like to think that
trilemma?
we just solved
We're
everything.
done. All right, everyone, it's EVM compatible. Just start porting your stuff over to
good.
Hedera. We're done here. We figured it out.
Like it's worked. No, I
Point
don't
zero
know
zero
if
zero
there's,
zero 3.
yeah, I don't know if there's a real big trade-off, especially now since we're EVM compatible. You can do a lot of the same workflows that you're already using on another blockchain with us. Yeah, I like it's the same functionality in a lot of different ways. It's just energy efficient. I wouldn't say that there's anything that's like foundationally different than a lot of the other blockchains.
Cool. Well, this has been great. It's fun. It's fun learning about what's going on in the space. What's fun going on for biddlers. What I think? What are those? Where's that resource slide, Derek? Can't my screen?
Bada boom.
Bada boom. There we go. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So yeah. So if you're biddling and you're interested in the impact and public goods track, check out Swirls Labs. They're also on Twitter. And then you also can hang out with them at in the education floor when you come into ETH Denver in 13 days and now probably 19-hour, 30-minute, just somewhere in there. So we're getting close. But dude, thank you so much for coming. Are you like so like are you doing anything? Are you having are you going to be in the booth? If people come up to you, you're going to come hang out in the biddle floor, or
I'll be
people
doing it all. Yeah, I'll be at the booth primarily. So please come by, stop and say hi, ask questions. Yeah, I'm there to kind of just help grow the community, network, get the word out, and hear what people are doing.
Cool. And then are you coming during Biddle Week, or primarily are most people showing up during the core event?
I'll be there primarily for the core event. I should be getting in on the 28th and then staying till the 6th.
Well, come stop by Biddle Hub.
I will.
So, well, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And it's been fun learning about everything ESG. So now I need to go find and see if I can actually look up my food and see where it came from.
Just to close the loop, I looked it up. For those of you who have your Derek bingo cards at home, you can stamp mentions he has a physics degree, because the H bar is Planck's constant. It's a fundamental constant of nature. And one thing that's fundamental and constant to this community is that we're learning new things every day so that we can build a better world. Thank you for joining us, Devin. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, y'all. Take care. Awesome. See y'all soon.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
So that was Devin from Swirls Labs. We dug into what they're doing to support Hedera for the impact and public goods track. I'm friggin' grateful and excited for everything they're doing, because a lot of folks I'm gonna get a little topical for a second. A lot of folks come for the price action, like Bitcoin making you money is like the Trojan horse by which cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies have gotten into the cultural context. But then in this community, at least, we don't stay like, not a lot of us are traders. We're not just sitting there like, let me buy and sell ETH level to level. That's fine if you do that. But this community is about biddling, okay? I've got my ETH bags. I've got my other bags. That's not the point. I'm here to learn how to do cool stuff and contribute to technologies and protocols and communities that I think actually stand a chance of solving real problems for real people. And so when I hear about them working that hard to create infrastructure so that lots of organizations can solve real problems for real people, that's what gets me excited. I really appreciate that. We're here to biddle things.
Biddle.
Let's biddle. Speaking of, I believe we have another set of guests for the day, don't we?
That we do.
Up next.
This up next.
Go ahead.
We're talking about DAOs and communities, which is kind of a big deal, kind of a big thing. I mean, we are a DAO, and so
we are a DAO.
We are.
The EE Cummings. We contain multitudes, right? If you're in a DAO, you're probably in 9 DAOs. Nobody's just in one DAO, right? Before we get into it, I just want to elevate what Stake Ether Die is saying. Bear markets are for biddling, right? We're in a biddle market right now. The price is down. The scammers went away. There's less free money floating around. But the folks who stayed, we're here to learn and keep biddling. This is the time to put your head down. And maybe you're not in a DAO. Maybe like Stake Ether Die, you're in a cult. And that is what I'm excited. I literally don't know anything about Cult DAO, and I'm about to find out real fast. So everyone, please give a warm GM to 2 of our guests. We are joined today by Wastelander and Mr. Cultmander. Pseudonyms for folks unfamiliar with pseudonym, not anonymous. These are their internet names rather than their government names. And I appreciate having you both here. Welcome, folks.
Awesome to be here. Now, quick question. How do people have time to work in 9 different DAOs? I barely have time to work in Cult. I mean, it's like a full-time job in one DAO in and of itself. How do you do it?
I'll do you one better. A lot of folks are essentially unpaid interns in 9 different DAOs because these DAOs have tiny treasuries and they're pretending that their ERC20 they just launched is super worth arguing about. So it's like we're doing like we're reinventing so many wheels, but that's the point, right? We want to get in there and figure out a new way of coordinating. But I'm curious, what the heck's a Cult DAO, and what are your roles or affiliations with it, so folks can know who you are, what we're talking about today?
Sorry, there's a bit of a lag. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, cool. It's still showing that I'm muted. All right, there we go. Yeah, so I guess I'll start off Wastelander. I mean, I brought Wastelander on. I thought he would be better suited for the discussions with the biddlers, but I could at least give an overview of what we're doing within Cult DAO and why it's a good type of cult instead of a bad one, because I completely understand why folks might get a negative connotation, as I did to being involved with Cult DAO. So it's we've been around for about a year. Our birthday was just about a week ago on February 1st.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. It was a great birthday party. Cult DAO was built, I think in its simplest form, you could describe it as a venture capital DAO, but it has a bigger purpose than just designed to make money. The whole goal is to invest in projects that we feel like we're going to be part of and biddling our more decentralized future. So whether it's investing in actual projects in their seed stages, lower market cap tokens that maybe need some more communities to build that community, whether it's nobles like things like Dutch farmers, we've contributed to that. We contributed to the Tornado Cash Defense Fund. We've donated to Anonymous, the white hacker group that typically doesn't deal within cryptocurrencies. We made contact with them. And now we're also exploring potentially putting up a proposal for the earthquakes you saw in Turkey to help out the people there. So investing in things, donating to the things, but all within the whole ethos of freedom to the people and decentralization.
So what's a cult?
A cult. It's a group
sound like a
of
DAO.
like-minded. Well, if you think about it this way, and
am I in a cult? Founder, is Sporks DAO a cult?
You're in a cult. If you're in crypto, you are in a cult. Because if you talk to any of your normie friends outside of crypto, they think you're in a cult, right? The whole idea.
Changing the track name. It's Culting Communities.
I mean, it is a topic. You start to see that a lot, right? I saw this on Twitter the other day. Who just called out Elon Musk for being in a cult? I literally just saw this morning. Wastelander, did you see this tweet?
You know, man, I missed it, but I'm super curious what the parallel is. I'll have to dig it up after this.
Yeah, it's like in its simplest form, and like so, I presented in ETH Barcelona last year, and I was just searching because I'm like, I heard of cults, like how do you even define it? And in reality, it's just a group of like-minded individuals that are held together by a shared commitment or ideology, whether it be to some leader or some commitment, community commitment, and ideals and things like that. So, within Cult DAO, it's really our shared vision of decentralization, and that kind of what brings us all together. Now, to be fair, you still have the same type of discourse you would have in any DAO, because that's such a broad term. Like, everyone means different things to different people. Some people are here for the money, some people are here for the cause. It's been a great learning experience.
Yeah, if I
So
could just
yeah, go for it.
you, Jason. Okay. Yeah,
No,
first
go.
off, really beautiful to be here. Thank you to you both. There are a couple of aspects to Cult DAO, which speak to the mimetic kind of filter engineering of it. So there's the scary sort of nomenclature of a cult, right? Like, to date, I'm not aware of there actually having been a good cult, maybe the cult of Pythagoras, that kind of thing, right? So, but then when you look behind that, it's really sort of like a funding tool for being able to scale particular directions, which crypto and then outside of Web3 can go, right? So those three directions, or those three kind of like vector classes, would simply be decentralization, decreasing centralization tendencies around the world and in Web3, and then emphasizing by funding and creating positive feedback loops via the memetics of different kinds of noble causes. So it was really, really great to see Hedera and hear about their applications with regard to environmental engineering and all of that kind of thing. So that's the perfect example of a noble cause. But it's also the sort of thing which emphasizes values and tendencies of action which are decentralized, right? It's something that we all care about, that we can all work together. Therefore, it's the sort of decentralized nexus which Cult automatically supports. There are other mimetic layers to it, right? Your characteristic DAO is perhaps very internally focused on developing hard and soft governance layers and working a lot on meta governance. We grew really, really quickly. So it's sort of been like playing catch up in the sense that it looks almost like a contradiction in terms of social volume in relation to a lot of the hard governance aspects of our protocol layer, right? So in that sense, there's almost a mimetic filter in terms of how we interface with Web3 and then entities in Web3. But in reality, behind the mask, there's still the emphasis and criticality of the three vectors that I mentioned before that. Hopefully that made sense, you guys.
It sounds like there has not been a mimetic filter. It sounds like the branding was good and a lot of people showed up. A filter implies there were the people who would have been interested, and then we reduced it to a subset and scared people off. But the opposite also happened, where it mimetically spread quite quickly. Yeah,
it's been a bit of a superposition of both, right? We can dance in kind of like both worlds. There's so much to do, and there are different ways to do those things when it comes to building different kinds of decentralized solutions, or the sorts of things that we all really care about in Web3, and especially in bridging the adoption curve between folks who have problems outside of Web3, right, into Web3, and then having that recursively feedback into being able to address problems like environmental change, like other sorts of things in as it were like the real world. But then Jason, you were going to say something and you very kindly let me speak. So that's what you were going to ask.
My interest is always going to be what does the space look like from a DAOs and community perspective overall? Would you say, what are the opportunities within the DAOs and community space for Biddlers, going into ETH Denver?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that we need to solve right now?
Pain points.
What are the pain points? What are the bigger problems that need to be addressed? In past when we talked with Gamer 7, they were talking about some of the issues with transactions and being able to create NFTs and having basically having cross access to different content. What are some of the bigger problems right now in the DAO and community space that we need to solve?
Yeah, I can say something about that, Mr. Cultmander, unless you want to go first. So my main thought, and I'm coming through right now just to make sure you guys.
You're good.
There's kind of a design space which I've been thinking about. So 3 dimensions to that, right? Public goods funding, anonymity tooling, and then DAO governance. Right. So yeah, and the way that Derek you're doing it, that's exactly how I think about it, right? So when you combine those 3 kinds of dimensions, what does that open up in terms of being able to generate positive sum externalities? Yeah, precisely. Yeah, I wish I was on camera because I'd be doing legitimately the same thing that Derek is doing right here.
Well, you said supervision, and I knew I had another
Yeah.
physics major on the stream.
I've always wished I was a physics major. This is
Just
the
watch
kind of
the
thing,
YouTube
though.
videos,
If you have a
good enough.
decentralized system, like we can all parallel process, and then it's kind of like we're working on impact along all these dimensions all at once. So in a way, like it's a big superposition in a sense. So, and then after those 3 dimensions I mentioned, I also really care about education. I have a background in really caring about that. So when it comes to needs in both Web3 and then, as it were, like outside of Web3, I really wonder about how folks building things in Web3 explicitly can address the need for being able to decentralize and democratize and reduce barriers to access, and possibly even make really quality education of various kinds free of charge to folks around the world, whether or not they're in Web3 or not, right? And I have like some ideas about that. I also wanted to say, I was going to say this as part of my intro, I'm really, really curious what you, Jason, and you, Derek, think about this design space, like this problem space. Like it's pretty general so far, but like, what really comes to mind in terms of projects or needs when you think about the interface between education and DAOs, outside of DAOs, privacy tooling, and like all of this sort of thing?
So I think for me, it's a lot of it getting into the onboarding of people and allowing them to actually understand what Web3 is, what blockchain actually allows. There's a huge, like, even if I look at some of the things that we're doing, having to explain things in a way that makes sense to people. If we can provide a way where people can, I guess, not read, like, I think not read, but read.
Yeah, that makes so much sense.
Like if we just take ETH Denver as an example from an application standpoint, when people applied, how do we make it so that you want to read? How do you take ownership of like
Yeah,
writing, like actually putting the right information? Like, which is I mean, I look back to school and it's like sometimes I didn't pay attention because I got bored. But why did I get bored? So it's kind of like how can you bring in some of those things even into the Web3?
I love the way that you framed that, and I really vibe with that. Yeah, Derek.
Another piece I think is there is some catch up to do in our understanding of some other pieces of like developmental psychology or just psychology more generally, and how humans show up in social spaces. There's some lessons to be learned there that I don't think have been like grokked at the intuitive level for the kind of coordination we're seeing. A simple example would be like DAO onboarding. Huge pain point every group faces at some point. What is the UX of a new member? Okay. The most common answer to that question, the default, the null case, is they join your Discord, they click some kind of verify button and get a verified role, and then can instantly see a dozen different categories and 100 different channels and have no idea where anything is and are overwhelmed. Okay, that's a horrible UX. So let's take responsibility for designing a UX using something like Yerba, one of the Buffercorn Ventures organizations. They have like a tool that lets people go on these guided quests where it's like, welcome to the server. Click through these 5 little informational things. It's like a little bot. And then you're verified. And when you're verified, maybe you only get access to one category. And in that category, we tell you about the 3 other categories you could see if you opt in. And so in this way, you titrate out and you still give people, it's fully permissionless, right? You're not gating it, but you're thoughtfully designing it a little more so that somebody isn't overwhelmed. There's like a warm welcome. Then you splash in layers like having somebody ping them in intros and be like, hey, did you just join the server? We want to know about you. Give us your intro right here. And also come to our weekly onboarding call. It's like Thursdays at 12 Pacific or whatever it is. And then you have a human touch point. And they're like, wow, I'm actually being seen. I'm being welcomed. And then most importantly, like if I could contribute one thing to the DAO onboarding space that I think is like super valuable but not being talked about, there's this idea from academic research of the legitimate peripheral participant, or LPP. And all it means is that you've got like your core people in the middle and then like your layers of onions. And then you have like just the community of everyone in Discord and followers on Twitter out on the outside. When somebody's brand new to a community, day one, like people that are hearing about Cult DAO right now, for example, what is their experience? And what is the shortest loop they can go through from first hearing about it to meaningfully contributing something really small and tiny? Because if you can make it so they don't have to understand all the infrastructure and the meta governance and who's in charge of what guild and what's the official proposal pipeline, because we've all seen people walk in with good ideas and say like, hey, what about this? And their response is like, you should be saying that over in this channel. We have a conversation about that on Tuesdays. Totally shuts them down. So if you can create a different flow where they can walk in and it's like, oh, we need your help with our new Twitter campaign or something super small. And then they write a tweet. And this is the key point. Have certain people in your community vigilantly watching for these kinds of things and then fully shining the spotlight on them and appreciating and celebrating them. Because if somebody's new to a community and they're like, hi, everyone, I'm new, I've got imposter syndrome, and then they do something, and then the response on like day one or week one is like, yo, everybody, Mr. Cultmander just did a tweet over here. Let's all give them a big cheers. And then there's a bunch of emojis. Then Mr. Cultmander is going to be like, oh my God, this is the nicest community. I am valued here. I contribute actual value. I'm not just a lurker. I belong. I am needed. I am wanted. These are the kinds of basic psychology things that I think DAOs are kind of taking for granted right now and not thinking about.
There is like a sense of what you're talking about, Derek, of authenticity, is that humans are looking for people that are authentic. So if a community can create authenticity, that's one of those prime human transformational things that will get someone to be more bought into something. So the more authentic that you can be with how you are, and it doesn't come off as being fake, it's kind of a huge thing. Because humans want three things. They want you want to be right, you want to be in control, and you want to look good. You don't want to look bad. So how can you create something that's authentic? How can you be authentic? Whoa, my screen's freaking out.
We're all freaking out. We're like really pushing the edge here.
I think
is there anything that comes up?
The matrix there and the UI.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting too close to the truth, and we're starting to get shut down by the man. What comes up for you as we're sharing some of these things, Wastelander?
Well, to be honest, a lot of the ideas that like I've kind of been swimming in when it comes to mental health education really come to mind, right? Because insofar as humane onboarding into DAOs or Web3 is kind of the condition for people feeling like they're treated as people, not as tools. Therefore, as folks who...
I'm not human capital. Don't call me human capital.
Like, that's the thing, right? And it kind of like is in the lineage of why Bitcoin perhaps was made, right? Sort of like bridging away from dehumanizing or centralizing tendencies to more human-centered systems, right? So when Jason, you began talking about the criticality of adoption, and then Derek, when you bridged to how to have people really be vigilant and ensure a really welcoming, organic process, that's really what came to mind for me, right? Because that automatically feels so different from corporate, like everybody's a nail and this is sort of like the algorithm that you have to fit in, rather than, the structure thing around you, right? So, human-centered kind of like DAO development. So that's what comes to mind for me there. And then when it comes to mental health and especially being able to decentralize how we think about and distribute mental health care, It's like, it seems to me that Web3 and any kind of organization that really has an eye on need for decentralized mental health care and access around the world, they're gonna really care about that. And the primary like way to demonstrate that potential is just in DAO onboarding, right?
Are there, like, within the mental, if you just take that segment of mental health and onboarding, do you have some examples of tools that we might need to create at ETH Denver to actually make that a reality? Like, give ideas that are in there that we might be able to go, hey, we got a bunch of biddlers. We have people watching right now. People will come watch this later when they get off work. Are there tools that someone could actually create that could actually help him get us to the place where we actually have more of these tools?
I think that a few design specs would be, okay, so for like a DApp that people would be able to use, it would be looking for the kinds of indicators for, let's say, I don't know, suicidal ideation or this kind of thing. And you can go all the way down to like helping people understand, you know, basic forms of anxiety and this kind of thing. Another kind of spec would be where people go after they take like the initial, you know, like sort of the, you know, the flow after that. So like, are there steps after kind of like being screened? It's the kind of thing which is really needed. And to be honest, like right now, I wish I had like looked up some examples because I'm sure it's out there, because, you know, everybody in Web3 is at basis like a human, therefore at basis has mental health needs. But yeah, that's like a design space that I think is really critical, especially when it comes to be able to meet people where they actually are.
I'm waiting for someone to create the loneliness app or the solution to loneliness.
It's like the whole time validating that you can be lonely, right?
What was that, Mr.
The
Coleman?
one thing that comes to my mind, the one thing that comes to my mind is all this advancements in AI could just solve for all these problems, right? Just get rid of our conscience and robots do it.
Well,
You know?
well, I mean, you joke, but way back in the early 1900s, we were talking about Skinner boxes and how if you just talk to at the time it wasn't a robot, but you would like type or write out your message, and it was essentially therapy with a black box, and you were getting these messages back, and it would say things like, oh, can you say more about that? Or like, I totally hear you. Totally abstract responses, not contextual to whatever you just said. People rated the amount of relief they got pretty high. Not as effective as talk therapy with another human, but pretty high. I'm not saying we should replace talk therapy with humans. I'm in therapy and have been for a decade. I'm a huge advocate for mental health services from trained professionals. And I think I could vent about my day to Chat GPT sometimes, and maybe there's some value in doing that. So can we decentralize? Can we find more baskets to put our eggs in? Can we learn to lean more on our friends, our family members, our communities, instead of just, you know, your main partner? Or if you're alone, maybe no one. Especially, and I'll just sort of try to bring in a lot of pieces, but we don't have to dig into all of it. A lot of our space is men who come from internet culture, gaming culture. We historically do not have the strongest vocabulary and like patterns around being able to articulate and share on some of these key things. So let's use this opportunity where we're intentionally reinventing the wheel on how we coordinate with each other to include everything Wastelander's saying around, at the end of the day, being humans, being individuals. So, like, plot twist, DAOs and communities are not about DAOs and communities. There's no such thing as a DAO or a community. That's a word. It's a concept. What there is such a thing as the individuals who make up those communities and who make up those DAOs. Those are enduring and lasting things. So I don't want us to get it backwards, right? We're not human capital for the DAO. The DAO exists to create a space and a mechanism for individuals to get to know each other, work together on some cool stuff, to contribute to some shared values and goals, but never lose track of the fact that we might need to vent, might need to resolve a conflict that came up. And if we ignore some of these foundational, like, we're human beings pieces, there will be consequences. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just hoping that we approach this through a lens of let's try some stuff out and remember our humanity every step of the way.
Couldn't agree more, Derek.
Well,
Deep.
I for one am truly excited to see what kinds of stuff people are inspired to prototype at ETH Denver around this. There's a lot of opportunity here, from you creating agendas, summarizing the huge amount of information that flows through a DAO conversation each day, newsletter tooling, voting tooling, transparency. There's just so many things that can be done to help turn the noise into signal, both at the coordination layer of what are we going to invest in next, but also at the emotional layer. How are we doing today? There's just so many fun things that could be tried out, and I'm curious and excited to see what folks do. I want to thank you both so much for joining us and getting this conversation started around some of the challenges DAOs and communities are facing today, and just give a lot of credit to everything Cult DAO is trying to do to take this like sort of wry smile, smirky, edgy approach to pushing forward important conversations.
Thank you so much, Derek and Jason. It's been really good to jam and go over these ideas and tap into the passions that we already know are latent in Web3. Thank you so much.
Yeah. When do you guys plan to land in Denver?
For myself, I'm going to be there March 1st, heading out around the 5th.
Okay.
Core event.
Cool. Well,
Yeah,
don't forget to come hang out.
For that.
All right. We'll see
Come
you
hang out
there.
in the Biddle floor.
Wouldn't miss it for the world, y'all.
Can't wait to see
All right.
you
We'll see you there.
guys. Thanks again.
Yeah.
All
Thanks
right,
for
thanks,
joining
guys.
us. Have a great rest of your day. Bada boom.
Hold on. Give me
I
one
love
moment.
these.
I think I left the gas on. Hold on.
Okay, goodbye. Welcome to the Derek Show. So that was Cult DAO. Praying Daily, I know you're hyped. Space Falcon, I know you're hyped. Stake Ether Die, I know you're hyped. Grok Groove especially, I know you're hyped. And I want to say thank you all for being here. If it weren't for you being here, this would just be the four of us in like a Google Meet or whatever. So it's y'all listening and internalizing and then amplifying these ideas that is the reason we're doing this, right? I do love hearing myself speak just for the sake of hearing my own voice. It's a nice voice, but that's not why we're here. We're here to amplify important ideas. So thank you for being a part of that process and taking some of these pieces with you, whichever ones resonate. We've got a few more things to cover today before we wrap it up. We're going to go a little late. If y'all need to bounce, you bounce. There's a recording for this, but I'm glad you're here. Yep. Up next, we just finished our two main things for the day, digging into impact and public goods track, and then digging into the DAOs and communities track. And lastly, we're going to whip through a few like announcements, reminders, just some information we want to make sure is really fresh in your minds since we're only 2 weeks away from the event. And the first thing we're going to talk about next is the meetups. Y'all are going to get a chance to talk to each other in person at ETH Denver during Biddle Week and the core event. Jason, what kinds of meetups are we talking about?
Everything. So different types of communities. So like if we just talked about impact and public goods. We also just talked about DAOs and communities. So we're looking for ways to create teams. So there will be like meetups around gaming, meetups around banking, meetups around maybe credit card processing, meetups around different problems or different interests that we want to solve. So those will be led by the Biddle X stewards. And then we also have a lot of sponsors that are going to also stop by and hang out and basically talk about ways and problems of things that we can solve. So kind of like going to, how can we create this system that we are just talking about for mental health or public goods or NFTs or transactions? Like there's so many things that we still need to solve. So let's find common interests. So if you're coming in and you either you don't have a team and you want to find a team because you want to build something, like come hang out in those. Or maybe you already have a team, but you want to hang out with other people that are interested in your thing. So you might be able to ideate. That's the whole point of these meetings. Let's find ways to actually biddle together and actually solve the problems. So
For the Biddle week, which for folks who don't know our terminology, ETH Denver is 10 days long. The first 6 days we call Biddle week, and then the last 4 days we call core event. So Biddle week, those first 6 days will be at the Biddle Hub, the address you can find on ethdenver.com. But is that where folks can expect the majority of these meetups that we're putting on to be happening, all sort of centrally? Or
Yes and
where
no.
else should people be looking?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So during Biddle week, yes, 100% of this will happen in Biddle Hub. So the cool thing about Biddle Hub is that there are 2 different lounges that exist. And so you'll be able to hang out either in a lounge, you can hang out in the actual like co-working space, but the Biddle like meetups that we're planning will all happen in one of the lounges that is basically adjacent to the co-working space. That then when we move to the core event, which starts on the 2nd at the National Sport Castle, all those meetups will either happen in certain track or presenting sponsor booths, or those would happen in the Biddle floor, or that might even happen in what we call Biddler Palace or Biddle Palace, which is the auction house for cattle. But we're transforming it into Biddler Palace, and so we're gonna do something I think that's kind of fun. So for those people that are like on the visionary business side, or I would call them like domain experts, we're gonna create a space for you to basically go, I have this idea. I'm a domain expert in X, and we need to solve problem Y. I need a developer. I need a backend developer. I might need a smart contract person. I might need a designer, whatever it might need. You'll have a room kind of full of people. You'll be able to pitch your idea. And then hopefully we can create some teams from that and solve problems by utilizing those that are like domain experts. So kind of fun, kind of exciting. I wish I had that. I'm an idea guy. So
yeah, we say it at various times for various reasons. This is another example of where ETH Denver is trying to push the hackathon, biddleathon process one step forward, because sharing your ideas and finding other people to help you bring them to life, in other words, the combination of ideation and team formation, is not a solved thing. I don't know if y'all have been to other hackathons, but that part's hard. They got like a Discord channel and then like the one meetup. We're trying to take that and then add a couple more layers just to make it that much easier for new folks, especially, to have a simple process of like, you go here, yes, when it's your turn, you share your thing, and you see if anyone who's listening was like, that was dope, I want to help. Because that is what happens. That's what happened to me when I did Women Hack in Lisbon. No, it was another one I did. Somebody was like, I have an idea for when people are survivors of domestic abuse. It's a really challenging process to own and keep track of and share your data, especially in like a privacy preserving way. I want to create some tooling around like DIDs and zero knowledge stuff to let somebody have ownership of their data and selectively disclose pieces of it to like a police station or a courthouse or like some kind of shelter, rather than having to deal with like the hospital and their centralized data system. I was like, that's a fire idea. I don't know very much coding, but I am on your team. So that kind of thing happens. If you share a fire idea, there's probably a couple people there that are going to be like, I'm in, like whatever it is, I'm here, I'm yours for the next 10 days. So that's what we're hoping comes out of these.
And I mean, there's a lot of people. So, I mean, it's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that we are expecting to come. And we have a lot of people that we're expecting to actually biddle. And I think we're set to possibly break some records this year. So it's going to be pretty fantastic. So yeah, if you have ideas for different meetups that you'd like to see, reach out to us in the Discord. What are the other places that people can go, Derek? Discord, Twitter.
I would recommend folks start and end their journey in the Discord, but if you're an anti-Discord that's staunch, okay, that's fine. We also have our Telegram group, t.me/ETHDenver. So you can go to that one, or is it Sporked Out? We have both, one forwards to the other one. They both work. And you can find a team there. I'm surprised more people aren't doing that, frankly. But we encourage folks to use the Discord just because it allows for more of that long form conversation, more of the back and forth. Telegram things tend to get pretty quickly drowned in the signal noise. So that's why we prefer it. Or don't do that. Show up on site knowing literally no one there without an idea and insecure about your skills. You'll still find an interesting team to be a part of. I promise.
What about, do we have something in, what do we have, Yerba in Discord, right?
Talk about Yerba, the bot?
Yerba.
Formerly known as Tavern Keeper, recently rebranded to Yerba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do we have any like adventures for that around
regarding
team formation?
Oh, I think they have rolled out some quests. I don't know if they're rebranding quests also. Related to information in the Biddle-a-thon. We'll get to the preparation guide in a moment here. But I'm not sure whether there's anything related to team formation. That's a great question.
I mean, we were just talking about it in DAOs and community about onboarding people. So I'm like, what, is there something there? It didn't even dawn on me until now. So, but cool. That's all that I got on the meetup side. I know that we have like a handful more slides. So you want to do the next one?
Sure. So if y'all have ever seen Shark Tank, it's the thing where somebody comes up, they're like, here's my idea. And then the sharks talk about whether or not it's a good idea and they want to invest in it. We're doing something similar. That show's a bit cutthroat. So we are, dang it, Tyler Jenkins just put our Twitters. My DMs are closed on Twitter. Joke's on you.
Oh, no, man. I don't know. Hold on.
Tyler,
go shut it down.
Yeah, shut it. Delete. Mod. Kick Tyler. So
Tyler is the
Bufficorn. I know that's the joke. The Bufficorn Ventures Buffy Tank is our spin on Shark Tank, where you get a chance to pitch your project that you can have been working on before ETH Denver. Right? We're very clear for the Biddle-a-thon, for the finalists, for the bounties, no code before February 24th. This is the exception to that rule. You can get up in front of the Buffy, what are we calling them? The LPs, the limited partners. I don't know how venture works. The people with the money that make the decisions. You get to stand in front of Russell Castagnaro and some of our other Bufficorn Ventures LPs and share your idea live. You get to pitch. Here's a hint. They will not be the only ones listening. Kind of like when you're doing your high school baseball game and there's like scouts out in the bleachers just like taking notes on who's good so they can reach out later. It's that. So if you would like a chance to pitch your project live in front of our VCs, other VCs, and just practice your skills, whether or not you get anything, think of it kind of like how you do job interviews just to get better at job interviews. So there's no reason not to do it other than it's kind of scary and intimidating, but we'll help you with that too. Go to this.
And there's something really excited.
Yeah, there's like a special, even Jason won't tell me about it. He's worried I'm going to leak it because I probably would. I have a habit of leaking too much alpha on stream. So go to ethden.page.link/Buffy Tank, the most natural URL I've ever seen. You can go there and sign up to be a part of it. We're moving on. So if you need the link, you can just rewind. Would love to see y'all there.
All right. Next one. Where are we going? Mentoring. So a lot of people are getting ready to come to ETH Denver. They're starting to think about their ideas. They're working on projects and they're wondering, how can I get help? So we have been really working towards having mentors be available to you from the start of Biddle Week all the way to the end of the day. So if you are participating in Biddle Week, you will have mentor support in both virtual and in person. There will be people available to answer your questions, to ideate with you, to help you answer questions, to maybe think about which bounties to use, which ones might not work as well for what you're trying to do. There will be sponsors hanging out. We're really trying to make sure that if you feel stuck, we can help you get unstuck so you can actually biddle the things that's going to actually solve our problems. So outside of Biddle Hub, we have the National Sport Castle. There's like a giant, I don't know, there's supposed to be like 150, 200, what are those things? Beanbag foam things. So like if you've come in the past, you'll have all that. There's also virtual mentors. So there are some people that might not be able to make it to ETH Denver that are participating in the virtual side. they'll be able to access. You got the sponsors, and then you got Biddler Palace. So Biddler Palace, like I talked about earlier, has some workshop related content specifically for biddlers and biddling. And then during the evening, after the main form of content, there's additional content that we are preparing for biddlers that they're pretty fun, pretty exciting.
If you are trying to store this information in your brain, I'll sort of summarize what Jason said. There are 3 places to go for mentorship. One is virtual. Hop in the Discord. Mentors are watching. The second is on-site during Biddle Week. Those first 6 days, get on over to the Biddle Hub. There'll be mentors there happy to chat. And most importantly, during those last 4 days of the core event, when everyone's got their heads down biddling, in the Biddle area, right there will be the mentors front and center, ready for you to just raise your hand or walk over and ask questions, whether it's tokenomics, debugging your software, or some other question. We've got a whole suite of folks there who want nothing more than to be useful and give their skills and knowledge to help your idea come to life.
And it's actually more than just in the Biddle space. People sometimes forget. I even forget sometimes. The entire event is an education, like, networking hub. Like, you can literally go and talk to some of the technical founders for some of these chains and actually get your question answered right then and there from the person that actually came up with the vision and the idea, and get your answers question. Or you can hang out with the mentors in the mentor space. So the entire thing is mentoring. We just also have really specific places that you can go. So there are, as of right now, we have approved over 395 mentors that are participating, and which is crazy. So shout out to Casey for leading that. You should be receiving, if you've received an acceptance invitation to be a mentor, Casey is currently working through all the details on scheduling, creating a place for you guys to sign up for when and where you want to be. So
we will come back to mentors in a moment, but first let's talk food. Up next, we are talking about Biddler Bucks. This is a quick reminder that you can download my Ether wallet and get set up before you show up on site. I strongly recommend that you, the person hearing my voice right now, download my Ether wallet on your phone right now. You do not have to import your seed phrase or whatever. Just make a new account. Try it out, because you will, for a fact, need to have my Ether wallet on your phone, basically, to be able to get the free food from the food trucks and other places that you can use these Biddler Bucks. Did we land on Biddler Bucks or Biddle Bucks?
it's Biddlebucks.
Dang it. Okay, so Biddlebucks. If you like, for folks who have been to Eat Denver before, we've always done versions of like, and here's some like burner wallet with some burner ERC20 so that you can walk up to the food trucks and use the Web3 layer to like get tacos or whatever, just to like show the use case and give you some free food along the way. We're still doing that. And huge shout outs to the Mew Wallet team for being the wallet we're using to do it, and huge shout outs to the Matter Labs team for letting ZK Sync be the layer on which we're doing it, both of which are exciting. So long story short, download Mew Wallet right now. It's Mew Wallet, my Ether wallet, wallet.com. Again, amazing branding. Web3 has no branding problems. Here at Spork DAO, we look forward to you using my Ether wallet. Everything's going to be great. It's for your Biddle Bucks. Stake Ether Die is reminding us that we do a little Biddle Bucksin, okay? So the question is not which wallet do I use. You've already started downloading it. The question is, how do I get more Biddle Bucks? Because I'm a hungry boy or girl or anything else, and I want more tacos, damn it. When you run out of the Biddle Bucks we give you, hint, it's not an infinite amount. Is there any way to get more? So I'll tell you one option, and then I'll let Jason tell you the other one. One way you can get more is by buying them. Over in the merch area, we're going to have an option for you to get more with your cold hard cash. This is true Chuck E. Cheese stuff. But More interestingly, if instead of trading money for Biddlebucks to go get tacos, you would rather just be given more in exchange for all the cool stuff you're doing, well, I got good news for you, because you are going to get more Biddlebucks when you hit milestones as you are biddling. So, Jason, can you explain some of the thought process behind why we are introducing these milestones in between just showing up and finishing submitting a project?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things that we did a lot of research over the summer and talking with people at different events, talking with different hackers, biddlers, sponsors. And so one of the things that we came across, the more that someone was updating and talking about what they were doing on their project, the better that the projects became, or what ended up being submitted to the final thing. A lot of some comments that we got from sponsors comes to bounties is, I don't know what it is that they actually did. So our hope is that by introducing this idea around milestones, we can solve some of the problems that biddlers face, that sponsors face, that we face as people voting on these events, in understanding how people are holding these projects, so that when we're judging them, we can actually have a better and clearer picture. So one of the first milestones that we're introducing is the actually forming a team. So it kind of goes back to this whole team formation part. So the moment that you log into the Biddle-a-thon platform for this year, you'll be able to create a team. You'll be able to create a track, or select which track that you are planning on biddling on. Maybe select the bounties that you're in. But part of the first part is you actually identifying who your people are. And by doing that, you get more Biddlebucks. And then every day, there will be different points throughout the day where you can submit your different milestones. And by submitting those milestones, you'll get even more Biddlebucks. Sometimes you can go to different sponsors that might have Biddlebucks. So there's a lot of ways to earn Biddlebucks, but at least from from a Biddle perspective, we will be issuing out more Biddlebucks by seeing that you're biddling. So it's gonna be fun. And there's lots of food. I mean, you got trucks, you got coffee, you got concessions, you even have special things that might come. Special.
I just want to circle back again. I said a moment ago, I got really hyped when we were talking to Colt Down. I said these basic elements of psychology could be better incorporated to help people. Well, Jason and I were like, dang, how can we help folks that start and are interested in biddling, but see you later, Grok Group, fall off along the way? They don't find a team. They don't find an idea. They are working on it, but they get stuck and intimidated. Well, we're going to have the mentors. We're going to have the team formation sessions. We're going to have the ideation. That's all for the beginning. Okay. Now you're in the middle, you're working, and you're getting stuck. How can we incentivize folks to feel these wins along the way? Let's make milestones. Let's give them some kind of a reward for like updating their profile on the platform, for simply listing what bounties they're interested in. Okay. How can we make them do that? That's a little extra work. That's bureaucracy. Give them food. Genius. So we are out here trying to actually solve some of the key problems that hackathons face, and we're doing it in the tastiest way because we love you. So I just wanted to emphasize that, like, we're pretty creative over here at Eat That Bird. We're just trying to solve problems in the best way possible.
We're also trying to make it so that way when Saturday rolls around, like at 8 p.m., and you can start submitting your projects to be judged, your profile is actually all set up. All the information that a judge would need to use to judge your project is already there. And you're not, at the last minute trying to figure out, how do I submit? You've been on the platform the entire time, and we're going to see more projects get submitted, and we're not going to have the painful. It's very painful for me to have to tell someone that spent 9 days biddling that because they waited to the very last minute to submit a project, that the smart contract says the hackathon or the Biddle-a-thon is over. I can't accept your project. So that's the other beauty of this. You'll be set up for success. So
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
it is
So
heartbreaking.
we've got two more quick things to cover this week before we wrap up Raise Your Sport. Neither of them is very quick. We are up next. If you would be willing to change the slide for me there, we are going to talk about one of the bigger snafus of the week. There's been a little kerfuffle, and so we want to use this moment to provide some clarity to y'all, the community, around tickets and claiming them so that when you show up to ETH Denver, you feel confident, you'll be able to check right in and go through the door and have fun. So what do folks need to know about their tickets, Jason?
So there was a group of people that have been accepted for over 14 days. Some of these people have been accepted for 30 days, for 45 days, that never claimed their ticket. So part of the process is that you apply to participate. You might join the DAO, or you might choose not to join the DAO. And then you received an email saying that you were accepted and you needed to claim your ticket. Unfortunately, there were a lot of people that were not claiming their ticket. So an email went out saying that your 14-day window had gone by, but we decided to extend it to today at basically 11:59 to claim your ticket, because we want to make sure that you get in, and we want to make sure that the people that are applied and might be on a wait list also have the opportunity to come if you choose not to come. So we're trying to make sure that there's room. So there was an email that went out, and there was a snafu in some of the personalized fields to where a wrong link was sent to the wrong ticket type, which was my fault. So my fault. I apologize.
You are forgiven.
I might have.
I want to honor the courage it takes to admit it was your fault. And here, everyone is like readying their sporks to stab you in anger and frustration.
Yeah,
but we make mistakes here, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we sent out an email, and the whole goal here was to get people to apply. And then in the midst of doing that, there were so many people that were basically redeeming their tickets that we had some blockchain issues where Polygon started spiking and gas fees, and
classic.
We had some issues. So all those issues, to our knowledge now, have been resolved. The team at WeLook has been absolutely fantastic in helping solve these problems.
Shout out.
So they are they should be good. If you have a ticket that you need to claim, you want to use this. Now, there are still situations where some people will continue to have issues with claiming their ticket. And this is part of the fun part of blockchain. And this is the fun part of filling out applications. There are it's not a small amount of people. There are a lot of people that filled out the application, and they might have selected that they had a blockchain wallet. And in choosing the blockchain wallet, they then chose to put in something like NA as not applicable, or 0x0004, or I'm not sharing my wallet address, or .ens, .eth, .id, gmail.com, yahoo.com, everything. If you put in,
there were a lot of ways to mess it up. Some of y'all figured out some really creative ways to mess it up. Shout outs to the creative.
So if you put in a fake or a bad wallet address in the wallet address field and you were accepted, that ticket is actually associated to that wallet ID. So if you put in a fake wallet ID, that ticket is tied to it. So what we are doing to resolve some of those issues for those that fit within that is that we are going to be removing those wallet addresses and just issuing email tickets to those people so you can get in. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get your NFT. You can still get that. You'll be able to request the claim, but if you put in something fake, it's not going to work.
When can folks expect that?
We're working on it around the clock. So
okay, so by say mid next week, would be a conservative?
Hopefully before. God,
Yeah. No, I just want to calibrate expectations. If
yeah.
you're sitting here like RJ is and saying,
I think it depends.
Help.
It will really depend on when you applied. If you haven't applied yet, make sure you don't put in bad info. Just say, I don't have a wallet. Like if you don't want an NFT ticket and you're unwilling to provide your wallet address, don't say that you have a wallet. Say, I don't have a wallet, and we won't send you your ticket by your wallet. So if you receive the email saying that you need to claim your ticket by 11:59, you still need to claim your ticket. If you're having issues, you can certainly respond to applications.ethdenver.com.
Mm-hmm. They are working around the clock. That is the only way to get help. And so your patience is appreciated. We are aware of the issue and the frustration and the confusion and maybe even that it's scary. But trust me, we're going to get everyone taken care of before the event. That is our firm intention. And we've got quite a few people doing their best.
And if you haven't gotten that email that said like you have until like a certain day, you're fine. You haven't either. You're waiting to get approved, or you're in the queue already. But those emails were specific to a specific group of people that have been previously accepted and had not claimed their ticket in time. So everyone was given 14 days.
Yep. Talk about designing onboarding systems. Let's move on. If you have any questions, you can email applications@ethdenver.com or support@ethdenver.com, and we will get back to you as soon as humanly possible, truly. And thank you for your understanding. Last thing we want to talk about today is the Biddle-a-thon preparation guide that Jason and the rest of the BiddleX team have put together. It is robust. It is a good example of a document that has all the questions you might want to ask. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and give people a visual preview of what it is. I'm going to go ahead and take over. Bada boom, bada bing. The Biddle-a-thon preparation guide. No, there we go. There we go. There we go. Yes. Is long. And the reason that I say that is that's a good thing. It's meant to be a resource that has a lot of information. If you're like, but wait, what are the rules? We answered that already. If you want to know about bounties, if you want to know about the top finalists and when and where they're going to need to do things, if you want to know where mentors are, if you want to know how judges like what the expectations are and how you can utilize them, all of this is in here, including a link to even more questions. So I swear to God, if y'all don't use this document before you come straight up into the support channel and start saying, when are projects due? We wrote it down. Dang it. So what I need you to do is go ahead and bookmark this, denver.com/biddle/preparation guide, because that is our resource of truth. If it's there, it's for you. We love you. We want you to have it. Please bookmark it and impress your friends when they ask you a question, even if you didn't memorize the whole thing. Of course you didn't, but you can give the link to them. Oh, here, let me airdrop you where the answer is. And then our support team has less on their plates and they can answer your ticket questions faster. It's just a win-win. We got to help each other out here. Even if you're not biddling this year, keep track of this document. You can add value to ETH Denver 2023 by giving it to someone at the right moment. So thank you in advance for helping us share this. Thank you, Space Falcon. Thank you, RJ. Thank you, FTL Engineer. Thank you, Dax. I appreciate you all. Okay, that's the preparation guide. Anything else?
I'm just looking at different places where people are to see if there's any last minute questions.
Any lingering questions? Yeah. I'll just say, as far as where we go from here, this is Friday, February 10th. My birthday is tomorrow, and we have 2 weeks until ETH Denver officially kicks off.
Less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks, 13 and a half days, however you want to call it. And it's pretty soon. So I look forward to seeing you all on the weekly streams. I'm streaming Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, at 3 p.m. Mountain right here on Twitch and YouTube. And I also look forward to doing the last one of these Raise Your Sporks with Jason next week, same time, right here. We are going to get into the 5th and final track and a few last need to knows as we get ready to show up at Denver and start biddling. Also, Juan Geraldo's birthday is going to be during ETH Denver. Let's go. That's huge. I definitely will give you Spork for your birthday. Yeah. I want to stop and also give some gratitude to the ETH Denver team. We've got Laura and Tyler who were here in the chat. Jason, you've been working around the clock. I've been doing my best. We're all doing what we can to help make an amazing experience for y'all. It's a beautiful thing when the community comes together, an event that's free to attend, always will be. We've got scholarships, we've got mentors, we've got free food, we've got booths where you can learn, we've got Blockchain 101 upstairs for the noobs, we've got Bufficorn walking around doing photo opportunities. It's Vitalik half the time. It is just, you'll know it's Vitalik in the Bufficorn suit, by the way, because he's super tall. And he's also, according to some people that got to hug him that day when he was wearing it, a good hugger. So if you get a good hug from a tall Bufficorn, that's how you know. If you need anything from us, you can find us on Telegram, Twitter, and Discord, and email. We try to make ourselves available. But in the meantime, just come hang out. We really appreciate all y'all are doing to better yourselves and to work together to build some cool stuff. Because that's what it's all about. I mean, coming and having fun and dancing and wearing PJs, that's all fine. But for me, the core of the community always has been and is still biddling cool stuff. So thank you, for being interested, and I look forward to seeing what everyone biddles this year. Jason, any final words for folks before we send them off?
No, just use these links should solve your issues. If there are, if you're still having issues, then reach out to support. I would encourage you to try each link. So if you think that you had a wallet, and it doesn't work, try the email. The email doesn't work, then reach out and create a ticket. So that is what I would recommend. So
yep. All right.
The fun nature of blockchain.
Great. Let's close it out the fun way.
Oh yes. There's
Let's
only
do
one
it.
fun way to do it.
There's only one fun way to do it. Ready when you are. Sing along if you know it.
The Bufficorn had some hacking, hugged straight from the heart, interrupted a vlog recording, then took in some art.
Thanks for joining, y'all.
Schmoozed in the VIP room, selfies all over the place. Tried to go get a haircut, rocked out in the maker space. Everywhere the Bufficorn goes, they're loved. It's the spirit of the community they're made of.
Hi, everyone.
And the magic of the unicorn, strength of the buffalo. Listen to the call of the Bufficorn in Colorado.
Hang it.
And the magic is inside of you. There since you were born.
You didn't earn it.
All together, be the Bufficorn. Middle. Got to middle. Go Bufficorn, go. Got shilled too in the shill zone. Listen to some talks. Chilled out hard in the chill zone. Did yoga like a boss.
Love Jonathan
Got
Mills.
food from the food trucks. Rode a scooter in the snow.
No.
Interrupted a panel. It's the Bufficorn show. And everywhere the Bufficorn goes, they play.
Right? Killer.
Their magic is around us every day. That's the magic of the unicorn, straight to the buffalo. Listen to the call of the Bufficorn in Colorado. And the magic is inside of you. There since you were born. We build all together. Be the Bufficorn. You got to build.
unmuted you, buddy. Let's say biddle bye to everybody.
Biddle bye.
Biddle bye.
Gotta go
Until
biddle.
next time.
Gotta go biddle my way.
Gotta go biddle some ticketing solutions. We appreciate you all, and until the next time.